It's 6 p.m. Eastern from a beautiful and balmy New York City. Okay, it's 7 degrees with a wind chill. This is the Daily Wrap. And welcome to the Wrap, everybody. I am Joe Concha, joined tonight by Newsmax TV staple and co-host of Close Encounter with Monsignor Jim Lasante. Lisa Jandovitz is here.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for... I'm glad to be here again.
Okay, she's shy sometimes.
I don't know what I was saying.
He writes for Forbes magazine, has his own radio show with Michael Steele on Sirius XM Radio, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Or sorry, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. is a little past his bedtime, and is frequently abused by Newsmax TV show bookers. Rick Unger, everybody.
First time you've been right all week. I am very definitely in bed by 11 p.m.
We learned something new tonight. Finally, she is one of Philadelphia's finest attorneys and Rocky Balboa's #1 fan. I think it's actually the other way around. Heather Hansen is
both.
here.
It's both. Good to be here.
Good to see you. All right, everybody. It's time for the Daily Download. And for those who say the fight against ISIS isn't a war against radical Islam, and yes, that includes President Obama, maybe this will change your mind. Over the past weekend, ISIS beheaded 21 Coptic Christians in Libya after they were taken hostage in December and January. In response, Egypt and Libya launched airstrikes against ISIS targets in response and have asked the U.S. for assistance. Meanwhile, in Iraq, ISIS released video claiming to show 17 Kurdish fighters locked in cages being paraded through the streets of Kirkuk as militants cheered. Here you see the video of the 21 Coptic Christians as they're being marched along the Mediterranean. We will not show you the rest of that video. This is the video of those Kurds in Kirkuk who are being marched through the streets. Militants are cheering. They're in cages. You know what that means. They very easily could face the same fate as the Jordanian pilot who was captured and, of course, burned to death that we learned about 10 days ago. And finally, in Denmark, a man who is described as looking Arabic attacked a free speech event held by a Swedish cartoonist, killing a Danish film director and injuring 3 police officers. Then hours later, he opened fire on a synagogue, killing a Jewish man and wounding 2 police officers. This all happened over the past weekend. If it's not obvious by now, the West, and quite frankly, anybody who isn't ISIS, has a serious problem on its hands. And right now, I'm joined by former U.S. Army Ranger and Master Sniper, Nicholas Irving, who has a great book out, by the way, The Reaper, autobiography of one of the deadliest special ops snipers. Definitely go read it. I'm in the 2nd chapter and I'm already hooked. Nicholas, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
So let's start with the attack on Denmark. Right now, what can Western cities do to prevent this kind of attack?
Just beef up their national security, their homeland security. I don't think that there's anything you really can do to, I guess, necessarily prevent it 100%, but always being on the ready, being on standby. That was one of the things we harped on in the Ranger Battalion, was always being, on the ready. It's pretty much all you can do.
Is there anything, I'm sorry, is there anything stopping a sympathizer for ISIS, like an outright member of ISIS or Al-Qaeda, from walking into a synagogue or coffee shop in Kansas City and attacking innocent people? It just seems like if they're willing to take their own lives, it would be a very difficult thing to stop. Exactly.
I don't think that there's anything that they won't do at this point. The only way to, I guess, stop them is to actually take the fight to them 100%. These bombing raids and dropping 500-pound, guided bombs, munitions on their houses is not really making an impact on that situation. I think we need to put a small element of special operations on the ground. Nothing big, not a significant footprint, but just something small. Things that we did when I was operating overseas, with just small unit tactics and going into their houses and eliminating those targets.
I don't have any military experience. I've never served, obviously, the way you have, and I guess as a layman, I watch this just from a journalistic perspective, and we know where they are. I know they don't have an air force, and I just don't understand how ISIS could possibly be expanding, or how they aren't just completely eliminated when we could just drop drones or just fly over them and drop bombs on them. I understand we need boots on the ground, and we need it from an international coalition, including Middle Eastern boots on the ground. That would be nice. I just don't understand, if they don't have an air force and we have that kind of superiority, how they're even surviving, let alone expanding.
Well, everywhere ISIS is at in Iraq, I deploy to that region. Anywhere from Baghdad to Crit, Mosul, I deploy to all three of those regions in Iraq. And bombs only do so much. Not to get too into detail, but I can recall throwing grenades in rooms and everyone walks out alive, or having a suicide bomber strapped with explosives blow up, a couple of feet from us. Bombs only do so much. Putting a bullet through someone takes care of the business. They have a lot of underground safe houses, places to travel or whatnot, and bombs can't penetrate that. It's almost like the Afghan war when we first started in 2001. We used B-52s to drop thousands and thousands of pounds of bombs, and it barely did anything to them.
Amazing. And my final question to you, President Obama said in an interview in The New Yorker, it was in January, I believe, where he said that Al-Qaeda resurgence in Iraq would be similar to a JV team putting on a Lakers uniform. That was actually last year. And it doesn't make them Kobe Bryant. And quite frankly, with the season that Kobe had until he got injured, it's probably not the comparison that would really be relevant at this point. Anyway, since he made that comment, do you think the president finally understands fully the threat that ISIS poses?
Oh, definitely, especially with the videos they have coming out. These guys at this point, they're cocky. They feel unstoppable. They've avoided our bombs being dropped. It's time to put, a small team of ground troops on the ground and take the fight to them. I've never met an enemy face to face who stood his ground when I have a weapon pointed at him. He's never stood his ground, and those guys cower out. They turn into cowards pretty much when you're face to face with these guys. Dropping bombs only does so much, but having a face to face meeting with these guys and sending them to wherever they believe in, that's what I think the situation should go from here.
And when it comes to special ops and SEAL teams, Nicholas, we certainly have the right people to do it. We saw it with Osama bin Laden. I know that was just one person, but I agree with you, and it seems the American people, according to the polls we're seeing, are agreeing with you as well. Nicholas, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Rick, we only have about 30 seconds, but certainly the heat is being turned up on the White House right now.
It is. I think you have to be careful how you turn that heat up. I think the conversation has to begin to turn more to understanding there was a strategy. It did not work. We did not degrade them. We're not going to degrade them. We have to flip our strategy, but we have to give the White House an opportunity to do that.
And it seems at this point, just quickly, that the president just doesn't want to say ground troops because he's afraid of the backlash.
Yeah, I think that's true. There's a lot of things the president doesn't like to say. That doesn't mean he's not doing it. And I'm much more concerned with what we do than what we say.
Okay, we'll have to end it on that note. So coming up next, we'll have more on ISIS. This is obviously the story of the day. This is the Daily Wrap, and it's only on Newsmax TV from New York City.